I had already made one catastrophic decision earlier that week, but I didn't know that it was catastrophic yet. Just like I didn't know that by the end of the day, I would make another. As I opened the double doors and breathed in the cold outside air, my chest swelled with hope. Everything smelled clean and sharp, delicate and heavy. Soon, I said. It's going to start coming down any minute now. That's what you said an hour ago. I looked back over my shoulder and flashed my coworker a dazzling smile. Shut the doors, Macon grumbled. You're letting out all the heat. But as his eyes returned to his computer, they sparked with telltale amusement. The doors were old and required a good shove to close. Wood smoke replaced the scent of the forthcoming snow. A fire crackled inside the stone fireplace in the back room. Flames were forbidden on county property, but the North Ridgetop Branch Library was a registered historical building, so the beloved fireplace had been grandfathered in. I plopped into my chair behind the circulation desk, pleased as ever to have cracked through Macon's curmudgeonly exterior. I was one of the few people who could do it. Our stalwart desk contained 2 stations. I had occupied one for the past 4 years, and he had occupied the other for 11. Both literally and figuratively, he was my closest work friend. An oversized book slid across the desk to me. Lunch? It was open to a photograph of a rambling cottage garden with a cast-iron table and charmingly mismatched chairs. No way, I said. Not today. No? He sounded surprised. Are you kidding? Today is one of the good days. This was a favorite game of ours, picking out a place where we'd rather be than at work. But today was a good day. Snow had been predicted for the high mountains of North Carolina, and our small city of Ridgetop thrummed and jittered with excitement. The library was empty, apart from a handful of patrons using the computers. Everybody else was at the grocery store, purchasing milk and bread, before the inevitable early closings, and hurrying home. It only snowed a few times a year here, and the reaction was always deliciously overwrought. Fair enough, Macon said, as I slid the book back to him. He placed it onto the return shelves, and then resumed reading an exhaustive online article about the statistical probability of an imminent global food crisis. Macon enjoyed nonfiction about topics that were terrifying, as well as lengthy classic novels that took weeks to read. I read and liked almost everything. I'll meet you in that garden for lunch, I said, referring to the picture, as soon as the snow melts. Supposed to be a big one. It'd be nice to have another day off tomorrow. To go home early tonight. We spoke as if we hadn't been engaged in this same speculative conversation for hours, just like we spoke as if everything between us was normal, because only I was aware that it was not. My stomach flipped and tumbled. For all our talk of lunch, I'd been too anxious to eat during my break. I wasn't sure how to tell him. The subject had consumed me for days, but now that the time had finally arrived, the task seemed insurmountable. Because how could I tell the person I wanted to kiss, that I wanted to more than kiss, that I was suddenly single, but only for 1 month? Any which way I framed it, it sounded ludicrous. This should have been my first hint that it was ludicrous. The door burst open, and a diminutive elderly man bellowed, "Should old acquaintance be forgot?" "Happy New Year, Mr. Garland," I said, as he pushed a mystery novel vigorously through the return slot in my side of the desk. I sat there because it was where most patrons went first, and I was friendlier than Macon. The better greeter. Although I was introverted like many librarians, I wasn't shy. I was a good listener. I was curious about others, and I loved to laugh. Ingrid Effervescent, Macon sometimes called me. It was a dig, but I secretly liked it, because I suspected that he did too.